This I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. The liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that watereth shall be watered also himself. Giving can be done through Patreon, PayPal, or Cash App. All links are in the description. As stated over the years, if you do give, let it be in accordance with the scriptures. Love you. Let's get it.
Try to tell you. Y'all don't want to listen. Try to tell you. So, Mystery Babylon is Saudi Arabia. And the Arabs are what we call black. The Arabs are what we call black. What they try to do, what they did is, they took the focus off of them and put the focus on the so-called white people of today. That way they can do all these different things they've been able to do while we fight amongst some of the very people that they use to do these different things. Because what they don't tell you, as I mentioned to you many times, there were white people who were also enslaved. Now, they were not in the numbers as far as us, and it's not the same captivity as the captivity we went through and we continue to go through. But there were white slaves. And many of these white slaves, in regards to what we call white people, they attached themselves to Israel, going all the way back to ancient Egypt. Yeah, I know what I try to tell you. There was no white people around. They was only in the Caucasus Mountains, which is simply not true. Which is simply not true at all. There were white slaves, and there were many white slaves that attached themselves to Israel. It's a historical fact. You had white slaves. Most black people that speak about history and speak about us as a people, they don't mention the white slaves. And the reason for that is because they're afraid to touch it. They are afraid that if they bring up white slaves, it's going to take away the credibility of who we say we are as a people. I don't believe that. I'm confident enough in what I preach and what I teach according to the word of God that it doesn't matter what is brought up, it will stand true. Now, a person may not agree with that. They may study the white slaves and say, you know what, it was more of y'all and they fit the curses more than y'all do. Okay, you can make the argument, but like I said, I'm not afraid to bring it up because I know the truth. I have no reason to lie. It's a part of history. It's a part of history. You can go look at it. You can see black slaves and the white slaves together. Yes, black slaves and white slaves together, even during the time period of what we know as we call the Arab slave trade. What we call the Arab slave trade, you had white slaves. And of course, we know we have black slaves. So they used this whole white thing and quote unquote white race to cause confusion, and again, take the heat off of them and put the heat on the so-called white folks. And the crazy thing is, when you study the transatlantic slave trade, you study the establishment of America, you find out that most of these people who were a part of the early establishing of America, they were quote unquote black, and a lot of them were what we call Muslims, Arabs, the Moors, and I mean we can go down the list. Now you're starting to see what's really going on. You have America with its agreement with Morocco. You have Islamic beliefs all throughout America. You have Islamic beliefs all throughout the foundation of America. if you study anything with dealing in America, you're going to see something dealing with Islam. Why is that? If you study the early history of America before what we know as Islam, you find the pre-Islamic Islam, and you see different things that Islam believes they got from these pre-Islamic beliefs. Same thing. Meaning that they are worshiping the same gods ultimately. This is why you see so many similarities. This is why you see so many similarities. But in regards to what we know today as Islam, why is it all throughout early American history, going back even to Christopher Columbus, who, that's not his real name, and he was not white. Most likely he was a Jew or Arab, or more on the Arab side. You can debate that. Maybe we'll get into that in another video. There are videos out there. I've done videos on it. That some of the people that sailed with Columbus, they were what we call Muslims. In fact, the people that helped to navigate Columbus over here, they were Muslim. That is documented. That is documented. The Muslims themselves even say it, and the Muslims, like I told you in the other video, go back and watch it. The Muslims have such a deep, rich history because most of them were not brought into slavery. They were not brought into slavery, so they were able to keep their records, and they still have a lot of those records today. We talking about historical records. And so when the white people started coming over there, they let them see certain things, but they didn't let them see everything. Those old records and everything, they're still over there, and they are the gatekeepers, protectors of them, of these old ancient records, old ancient writings and stuff like that, going all the way back to Timbuktu. Historical document, just crazy stuff. And we sit here and we focus so much on the white man, while the Arabs have been able to do their thing, because nobody wants to look at the whole truth. Nobody wants to look at the whole story. You're just looking for somebody to blame. First and foremost, you have to blame yourself because of our disobedience. That's why we are in the mess that we are in today. Then once you do that, you can look at other people and see what's really going on. I'm gonna stop talking for a second. Check these videos out from this guy that is a Muslim. Now, when we are speaking from the perspective of believers. We believe the word of God. That's our perspective. Let's check it out and see what he has to say.
These are the original Arabs. Look, they look just like you. Arabs are black Semites. These people are the great Islamic invaders of Africa. These people are the great racist enslavers of African people. But this Arab man looks just like you. You see, the West is lying about Arab history and Islamic history, just like they are lying about ancient Egypt. They are lying about a whole lot of other things. Western colonizers are projecting their own history of enslaving Africans based on race, oppressing Africans onto other people. So in the Middle East, you have white people and black people. So the West said, yeah, the white people are the original Arabs, and these black people, they are descendants of slaves. They are Afro-Arabs or Abd. The West assumes that the Arab slave trade was racist just because their own slave trade was racist. Yeah, some of them may be descendants of slaves, but you have many, many, many white people from the Caucasus taken as slaves during Islamic times as well. So Abd may apply to white people and black people equally. No, primary source historical accounts from 1,000+ years back confirm that Arabs were black people. They were Asmar or brown. They considered people who were not melanated to be non-Arab. So these Arabs are black Semites. If you accept the truth that the original Arabs were black, that changes a lot of other narratives of Islamic invasion of Africa. It changes the Aryan narratives of Muhammad and a whole lot of other things that people don't want to change. Islam is not racist, and here is the proof. There are bloodline descendants of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in all ethnicities and skin colors. Here is an example of 4 great Muslim saints that all are bloodline descendants of Prophet. Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba was very dark-skinned from today's Senegal, Fula Tukulor lineage. Sheikh Nassim Al-Akani from Naqshbandiya was very light from Turkish origins in Cyprus. Sheikh Moinuddin Chishti was also, let's say, light from today's Afghanistan. Sheikh Ahmed Tijani was, let's say, my color from Berber, North African origins in today's Algeria, and all of the 4 sheikhs have verifiable prophetic bloodline. This is a miracle by Allah to teach you that no matter how you look like, you can reach the highest level of Islam, iman, and ikhlas. Who are the invaders of Africa? I'm gonna explain in this video, inshallah. Invaders are groups of people who have no history in the lands of Africa, or they have a short history in the lands of Africa, but their ancestors came by violent means. All invaders throughout human history have the same pathology. They come by force, steal the land of the indigenous people, steal the culture of the indigenous people. They fabricate a history and genealogy for themselves, claiming the history of the indigenous people, and they bully, belittle, oppress the indigenous people. Essentially, invaders seek to replace the indigenous people. Who are not the invaders of Africa? Here's an example. Look at this picture. 8,000-year-old painting in the caves of Algeria. This is a Fulani nomad. This is the same cow type with the big horns. It's called Bororo. This ceremony that you see in the paintings is known as Lottori ceremony in Fulbay. The Fulani people, my people, still live in southern Algeria today. There's just something about authenticity that you cannot fake. When it's real, when it's authentic, everyone sort of intuitively know. Therefore, invaders and indigenous people, there is a clear separation. One group have a colonial and racist attitude because that's what their ancestors did, and another group have this solidaric peace with the land attitude. You know, indigenous people actually carry their ancestors' history in their very blood. So indigenous people will react in certain ways, for example, when they see the coups in Niger or Gabon, or when they see African Americans fighting against injustice, because it's a part of the history of their ancestors. Whilst invaders will be like, oh, that's not us, kind of. I have been to North Africa a couple of times. As a Fulani, it is very easy for me to separate who are the invaders and who are the Berber. It's not necessarily skin color related, although skin tone can be an indication of what happened in history according to Sheikh Anta Diop. But the Berbers, they are a little bit like the Fulani, whilst the invaders are very tyrannical. In summary, you can never fake history. You can never fake your lineage because you carry your ancestors in your very blood, and blood doesn't lie. History is written by the winners. Thank you for your comment. That is absolutely not true. And I will prove to you that that is absolutely not true. This colonial notion that West Africa was illiterate and the Western colonizers came with ship and civilized the Africans, and that West Africa has no history and our ancestors were a little bit jungle people, nothing could be further from the truth. Here are some facts. In Timbuktu alone, scholars have found more than 700,000 manuscripts. Scholars have found 80 African languages written in Arabic or Ajami script, 29 West African languages written in Arabic Ajami script. There are very large libraries in Timbuktu, top picture, also in Mauritania, in Fouta Djallon, Guinea-Conakry, in Senegal, Touba, there's a large library, in Sudan there's a large library. Historically, there were more books in the library of Timbuktu than in Europe. Also, in Senegal region, there was a higher level of literacy than the French population during the 1800s. Some of the history of the Fulani people that I've presented on this channel come from these ancient Arabic manuscripts. The Kingdom of Ghana, the Kingdom of Tekrur, the Kingdom of Mali, Mansa Musa, all of these history come from these Arabic manuscripts. The problem is that the Western colonizers who came to West Africa couldn't read Arabic. Also, they had limited access to these documents because they have been very well guarded by various families. So you say history is written by the winners. That is not true. History is written by your own ancestors. You have just not read what your ancestors wrote. We know that the Tubu people of North Africa are being oppressed in eastern Libya and other regions. We know that the black Tuareg are being oppressed in eastern Libya and other regions. We know that the Fulani are in North Africa. Sometimes they take on other identities like Bagara and Arab, but they are found in southern Algeria and are oppressed and many times forbidden to speak their language. We know that the North African nations have tried to ethnically purify their nations from black Berbers. This is a crime. They like to point the camera to the Atlas Mountains and say, look, these are Berber villages. and hide what they are doing in the Sahara Desert against the real ancient nomadic Berbers who are black. Then they forced these ancient nomadic tribes to take on an Arab language and an Arab identity. They forbid the speaking of Tuareg language, Fulani, Tubu languages, etc. And they tell lies to these people that you are descendants of slaves, you are Abd, you come from West Africa. But that is not true. You see, you can never hide the truth. It doesn't matter how deep in the sand you bury it under the Sahara Desert, the truth always comes forward. Allah wal Haq. The Tubu, Tuareg, Fulani, and many other nomadic tribes who are spin-offs of the same ancient tribes. These are the ancient nomadic Berbers of North Africa. But many Somalis are Arab. Arab is probably the most misunderstood word in 2023. Arab is not an ethnicity or race. Arab is a medieval profession. It is how you lived your life. It is a Syriac word also found in Hebrew with the root arbi, which means to move around, a nomad. So Arab in medieval time means you are a nomad and you are roaming around the deserts. Just like Bedouin, which has the root Badaw, meaning desert. So that's a desert nomad. A Bedouin is a desert nomad. Arab is a general nomad. Most of Somalia look like this. It's desert or semi-desert. If you live here, you are an Arab or a Bedouin. Even if you want to make a linguistic definition, most Somalis speak standardized Quraysh, the language of the Quran, Arabic speaking. Are the Fulani people black Arabs? This is a question I get a lot. The short answer is yes, Fulani are black Arabs, but the Fulani existed before the Islamic invasion of North Africa. The Arab identity of the Fulani people is a controversial question. Many Fulani people today may not want to associate themselves with an Arab identity because they would associate Arab with the people in the Middle East, and then the Fulani would say, no, we are not like those people in the Middle East, we are African. Well, I cannot lie to you. Old historical accounts say that the Fulani are black Arabs with Umayyad descent. The history is what it is. What I can do is to try to urge the Fulani community to understand that words like Arab can change meaning over time. The earliest account of the word Fulani comes from Julius Honorus, a Roman mapper who spotted a tribe known as Barsofulitani or Barsofulani in what was known as Mauritania or ancient Rome in North Africa. Palmer claims that there were Eastern Jews in the Maghrib during the time of the Roman Empire that were known as Barsofulitani. This account is consistent with Della Fosse and also Uthman Danfodio. So the Fulani were a kind of Judaic people who migrated from Sinai to North Africa, practicing an older form of Judaism. When the Umayyads invaded North Africa, Uqba ibn Yasiru took a Fulani wife and they had children, and that is the Umayyad lineage of the Fulani. But the Fulani existed before the Islamic invasion. Now Arab 1400 years ago would mean nomad, and the Fulani are the largest nomadic tribe in the Sahara region. So yes, in that sense Fulani are Arab. Now Arab also means Arabic speaking, and Fulani are largely Arabic speaking. There are 500-year-old accounts of Fulani Arabic mixed script from Timbuktu. Arab can also mean you have a Quraysh lineage, and the Fulani have a Quraysh lineage through the invasion of North Africa by the Umayyads. So by all of these old definitions of the word Arab, Fulani are black Arabs. The modern definition of the word Arab is a different story. But I cannot lie to you about history. These are the oldest accounts that we have written in Arabic script of the Fulani or Felata origins. Were African nomadic tribes taken as slaves during the transatlantic slave trade? The answer is no, with certain exceptions. The majority of Africans stolen during the transatlantic slave trade came from the so-called slave coast, that is from Ghana all the way to Angola. These are agricultural farmer tribes. The rest of the slaves were taken from the West African coast from Ghana all the way up to James Island in Gambia. Gori Island in Senegal was very marginal. But the tribes taken from these West African coasts were also mainly agricultural farmer tribes. It's not a secret in Africa which tribes were taken, and it shouldn't be in the diaspora. If you look at the African Americans and Caribbean phenotypes and culture, it is reminiscent of the agriculturalist tribes of West Africa. An example, if I look at Dr. Umar Johnson, immediately would pop up Nigerian to me. Later, I found out that he indeed has Nigerian ancestry. You see, the truth doesn't lie. African nomadic tribes like the Fulani, Tuareg, Tubu, Bagara, Maasai, etc. live inland, far away from the coastal areas. There's no way that slave traders from the coastal areas can travel inland and catch nomads. It's hot, it's filled with mosquitoes, you're gonna run out of water and food, there are dangerous animals. I'm gonna be real, African nomads don't look like the people in the diaspora. Nomads are tall, thin, they travel long distances, they are Islamized, they are stubborn, they are shy in their culture. Were there exceptions? Sure. For example, town Fulani in Fouta Djallon may have been taken at a later point by the French when Fouta Djallon fell. The French may have captured a few Moors and Fulani up in St. Louis, but these are exceptions. Similar to the Jewish Holocaust, if you look at something horrible like Auschwitz, yes, there were gypsies there, there were Polish people there, there were communists there, but that was not the bulk of the Holocaust. It was unfortunately against the Jewish people. In the same way, the transatlantic slave trade mainly targeted agriculturalist Africans in the slave coast and to a lesser degree more north in West Africa. No. African Americans don't have Fulani DNA. At least not from the pure-blood nomadic Fulani. This is a common misconception and myth that is being spread in the diaspora, particularly African American. African Americans would study history and look at all the Islamic empires and attribute all of these to the Fulani tribe. Then they seek to claim these empires, so they try to create these narratives that Fulani were taken as slaves. And they would point to case studies like Sayyidina Umar ibn Said radiallahu anhu. They would make DNA tests and come up with Fulani DNA. But none of this is reality, and it's based on American anthropologists who don't understand how Fulani society works. There are two kinds of Fulani, the town Fulani, sometimes known as Tukulor or Turodbe, and the nomadic Fulani, known as Bororo or Wudabe. The nomads are the purebloods. The town Fulani are nomads who moved into the town and settled and intermarried with various different tribes. Pureblood mixed. Just like in Arab society, the pure Arabs are the nomads or the Bedouins, and the people in the town are descendants of the Bedouin nomads but mixed with many different people. That is why they can have lighter complexion. None of these Fulani, town Fulani or nomadic Fulani existed in West Africa during the transatlantic slave trade. The town Fulani pushed Islam to West Africa later in the 18th century. For example, Fouta Djallon in Guinea. When Fouta Djallon in Guinea fell, it's possible that the French took some war captives as slaves, and that would have been the Omar ibn Said. But this is a very, very small amount. The nomads of the Bororo Fulani, they are far, far inland with their cows and camels. The nomads know nothing about white people or colonization. The very small amount of Fulani that may have been taken as war captives were town Fulani or Tukulor. If you go to Guinea today and make a DNA study and ask, who is a Fulani? Everyone who speaks Pular is going to say, I'm a Fulani. They can be mixed with many different tribes. Most African Americans tested are of Nigerian, Igbo, and Yoruba descent. You have finally found your roots. Everything you say in your statement can be historically verified. Up to 84% of all the slaves were taken from the slave coast between Ghana all the way to Angola, i.e. Nigeria. In Africa, we believe that truth is very simple. When you're honest to yourself and you accept who you are and your history, the glove fits. No complication, no far-fetched stories, the glove just fits. If we want to go deeper into knowing who we are and our roots, we have to accept what we find along the way. I didn't know that Fulani are descendants of Umayyad Arabs, but if I reject that, I reject historical documents. If you accept that you are Nigerian or Igbo, Yoruba, you can go deeper into that and learn Yoruba culture. Arabs are considered white. This man, look at him. Does he look white to you? Rihanna and T.I. are probably lighter than this man. This is Sultan bin Said. He was the king of Oman for 50 years. I grew up with people from the Middle East, all the way from Iran to Iraq to Syria to Lebanon, Palestine, etc. I never met a single person from the Middle East who identifies as white. The Middle Eastern ethnic makeup is very easy to explain with some basic anthropology. We know that the ancient Arabs who were nomads living in this area area and also this area were black, the desert can get up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit or 50 degrees Celsius during the summer. But the Middle East is a junction point. Look at the map. This is Africa, Europe, Asia. And the Middle East is a meeting point of travelers, traders, and crusaders, and all kinds of people. The Arabs can therefore not be ethnically pure in a region like the Middle East. They would move into the towns, meet Turkish women, maybe crusaders from Europe or what have you, intermarry, and over time produce this lighter complexion. To clarify, the original Arabs were black African, yes, but today Arab would be multi-ethnic with different complexions of, let's say, brown. Now, there is this narrative being spread by Dr. Umar and others that Arabs are white, Arabs are invaders of Africa, Arabs are natural enemies of African people. There is nothing I have experienced with Middle Eastern people so far, all the way from Iran to, let's say, North Africa, that would validate that claim. There can be racism in the Middle East. However, I would suggest it's not so much about skin color. It is more that sub-Saharan Africans tend to be poor, and the Middle East can be very capitalistic. And if you are poor, you get a worse treatment. The same with Indians in UAE, for example. I think there's a lot of ignorance going on in the Afrocentric community. I also think there's a little bit of projection, kind of like we are afraid of the West, so we will attack the Arabs instead. My opinion is, if you want to launch an anti-Arab crusade, at least you need to know the Arabic people and who they are and what their culture is before you make such a decision.
Uh-oh. They've been lying to y'all. These so-called prophets that get on Facebook, get on YouTube, get on social media every single day, they have been lying to you. Why have they not been able to make the connection? Is it because, I'm going to give them some grace. Maybe it's because they haven't been studying it. Because, we all can't study everything. But they've been pointing toward America, 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 the white man, America, 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 the white man. And most of them would say, we study history. Now, you can get mad at the man all you want to for some of the stuff he said. You can get mad at him for being a Muslim, but the man was speaking truth in regards to what he was saying. He was speaking truth in regards to what he was saying. And it's interesting because God said, Christ himself said, the children of this world are wiser than the children of light. The Islamic world, all these different peoples, they are mostly wiser than those of us who profess the name of Christ. Because we refuse to allow ourselves to be truly led by the Spirit to see the truth. I remember having that conversation with my wife. She wasn't my wife back then, but I remember having that conversation like, they saying it's America. I think it's America. I believe it's America, the Spirit, and I'm reading different scriptures, but there's something else to it. And she was like, yeah. I'm discerning the same thing. And now we are seeing clearly that Mystery Babylon is what we call modern day Saudi Arabia. And you can also include a portion of Jordan in there, as y'all saw on the map from the previous video. If you don't know what we're talking about, go back and watch the video. So he brought this person up right here. Now, come on, man. Who's going to say that this is a white person? People are pushing false narratives. This is what we call a black man. Yes, he's brown skinned, but most of us are brown skinned. Most of us are this complexion here in America. Why is that? Why is most of us as African Americans this complexion? Some of us are lighter and some of us are darker. He said T.I. and Rihanna are lighter than this. And they're black. But people are saying, no, this is not a black man. Like, stop it. Stop it. When are we going to stop lying? When are we going to let the truth speak the truth? Once you let the truth speak and teach you, then it makes everything clear. The confusion is taken away. You're like, oh my God, I get it now. Now you are starting to understand even more why I teach. And we're going to say prophesy, because I'm giving it as a prophecy, that the Antichrist is going to be a black man. A black man, not white. But the Antichrist is going to be a black man because he's literally going to be able to lay hold to the lineage of Christ, saying, hey, I come from that lineage here. Go to records right here. The Arabs know who we are. So, of course, we know that Satan knows who we are. Do you really think Satan cares about ruling over the fake state of Israel? Or is it more so about ruling over who true Israel is? The apple of God's eye, God's inheritance. Starting to make sense? Now you know why I speak about a false exodus. A false exodus. Let's just paint a picture for you. A false exodus of Hebrew Israelites, coming under the authority of a black man that looks like them, who is the Antichrist, but saying that he is the Messiah. I'm the Messiah. These are my people. These are my African American, my Jamaican people. Y'all come back to the land. I'm gonna establish y'all in these areas. These are the boundaries I gave you. We're gonna bring about worldwide peace and confirm. I'm gonna confirm this covenant. Which is why when it all falls apart, the world turns itself on the Israelites. We know who the Israelites are, because they're gonna blame us. Our brothers and sisters who are alive during that time period, they're gonna blame us. Now, let me remind you one more time that he was speaking from a Islamic perspective. But the Bible did tell us to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. A few things I did want to hit on, though. One, while most Arabs are Muslims, Arab is not exclusive to Islam, as you saw. But we do know that most Arabs worship other gods regardless. So just because a person is considered Arab or they identify as an Arab doesn't mean that they are Muslim. Yet most Arabs, they worship these different gods. And we know that Islam, when Muhammad was establishing Islam, he got it from those 360 idols. Most Muslim people would disagree with that, but hey, that's y'all choice. I'm not here for all that. I'm speaking from the perspective of what we believe. You believe what you believe, and then your God, Allah, versus our God is going to sort it out. Ain't no confusion about that. Oh, Allah means God, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it very well may mean God. But what God you talking about? What God you talking about? Ain't no confusion. Ain't no confusion. Your God versus my God, your God versus our God, or whatever, it's going to get sorted out. He also mentioned indigenous people carrying the history of their ancestors in their blood. And I 100% believe that because of what the word teaches and my understanding of how DNA works. This is why we are naturally drawn to things we are drawn to, because it's spiritual. That's why they use the Bible when bringing us over here to America and other places we were scattered to. Why use the Bible? Why not use the Quran? Why not use the Quran? You see what I'm saying? Why not use the Quran? Because the Arabs knew who we were. If the Arabs knew who we were and the Arabs, well, I'm gonna say the Muslims. Because I know I just said the Arab, but most time when you're speaking about the Arab world, you're speaking about the Muslim world. So just bear with me on that. They knew who we were, and they know who we are today. The Arab slave trade came before the transatlantic slave trade. I keep on telling y'all that, and everybody knows that. And the system of the transatlantic slave trade was gotten from the Arab slave trade. You see what I'm saying? So when we were brought over here, they knew, hey, we can't use the Quran on them. It's not gonna work. They don't believe in the Quran. They believe the Bible. So we're gonna use that book. We're gonna teach you the system. And as I mentioned earlier, most of your early slave holders in America, they were black. Go look it up. Go look it up. They made it seem like it was white folks to take the attention off of them. The mystery is them. Now you're starting to understand even more what is going on in the Middle East, the so-called Middle East. But going back to what I said about that's why I use the Bible. Even Christ said he couldn't go where it was not written for him to go, and that's in Matthew 26 verse 24. The Son of Man goeth as it is written of him. But woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. The Son of Man goeth as it is written of him. It was in his DNA where he was going to go, what he was going to do. Just like it's in our DNA. God put it in our DNA before we even came here. That's why when people say certain things, you're like, boom, it just clicked with you. Like, oh, I already knew that. But you didn't know how to express it. When you go reading a book or you go watching a video, you're searching for something that's really already within you, but you're trying to find a way so you can understand it within yourself to be able to express it from within yourself. Come on now. He also mentions what Arab means. I also want to remind you that Arab means mix or to mingle. Ultimately, it deals with mingling or mixing what is holy with what is profane, which is what Muhammad did. He also answered the question about were African nomadic or Arab tribes taken as slaves, and he said mostly no. This is one reason why they still have such rich history, as we were just mentioning a few minutes ago, and how they know who we are as a people. What's interesting about what he said is that history follows you. Where do most African Americans live today? By the coast. And I can also attest to that with my middle name being Delte. Delte, you take the hyphen off, is Delta, which is dealing and it pertains to water. Also, Delta, in the Hebrew, I think it's Dalet or something like that. I can't remember, but pretty much a door. Door. Christ is the door. Kel, son of Kel, had to go through the door to get to the king. I had to go through Christ to get to the king because he's the king of kings and Lord of lords. And the other way is I had to go through Christ to get to the Father because the Father sent Christ. So that's one meaning of my name. Another meaning of my name is a tree planted by the rivers of water, a ship in the water. And Kelson, I showed you this before. Kelson or Kielson, Keelson. You're going to look this up. Or you can type in Kelson ship part or something like that, and it will show you. And one of the main pictures it brings up is a picture of the ark. The ark, Noah's ark. So a Kielson or Kelson is a structural support piece on a ship. You see that? Now, this is the same dude we were just looking at. This is a portrait of him. That's why you can't really... you can go by portraits, man, but if you look at this portrait, most people would say, oh, this is a white man. This is a white man. You can't always trust this stuff. You got to do your research. The word tells you that in the mouth of two or more witnesses shall every word be established. It says he was the fifth ruler of the, I guess it's Busaid dynasty. I speak English, so y'all bear with me. Busaid. And if you click it, it tells you the Busaid dynasty traces its roots to the tribes of Azid through a patrilineal ancestor. You see it right there. Imran, who settled in Deba, hence the band was also known as the Azid of Daba. Like other Qatani, the Azid originally hailed from Yemen and migrated north after the destruction of the Marib Dam. Now, why is that important? Well, we're going to look at the Qatani, how you pronounce it. We're going to look at them, and we're going to make these connections. And when we make these connections, you're going to see 100% that most people that's talking about what they're talking about in regards to Mystery Babylon, specifically being America, they don't know what they're talking about. at what point do we research and see, you know what? It may be something a little bit deeper to it. Because like I said, in my younger years, I was saying it to America, Missy Babylon, America, Missy Babylon, America, Missy Babylon, which is true to a certain extent. The spirit of the mother. But like I told you, the spirit of God was like, yes, but getting that word. Now I start reading the word more and more and more. I'm like, no, there's more to this. We see the connection, like I mentioned earlier, with America and what? The Islamic world. We know about the Morocco-American Peace Treaty. You can just study American history and you see Islam all throughout it. Why is that? Why is that? We go over here and what does it tell you? They are a tribe of Sabian Arabs. That's interesting. Doesn't the Bible mention the Sabians? Doesn't the Bible mention the Sabians? It tells you the Sabians were an ancient group of Arabians. They spoke Sabic, one of the old South Arabian languages. They founded the kingdom of Saba, which is in modern-day Yemen, which is considered to be the biblical land of Sheba and the oldest and most important of the South Arabian kingdoms. We see that Sabians appears 4 times in the Bible. It says, "And the Sabians fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee." This is in the book of Job. This is Isaiah. "Thus saith the Lord, the labor of Egypt and merchandise of Ethiopia and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine. They shall come after thee in chains. They shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, Surely God is in thee, and there is none else. There is no God." This is what they're going to come over and say. Now, this is a future prophecy. These different Arab nations, they're going to be like, look, we didn't fought against y'all. We didn't worship our gods, because, again, most Arabs are Muslims. They're going to come over in what? In chains. And then say, what? Surely God is in thee. The God that you serve is the true and living God, not the God that we have served all these years. This is what they're going to say. It's Bible prophecy. It's talking about the Arab nations. Where it started at is where it's going to end at. It started in what we know as Africa. Is going to end in Africa. Mostly that little piece of land. Israel and Saudi Arabia. And of course the surrounding area, but you get my point. "And a voice of multitude being at ease was with her, and with the men of the common sort were brought Sabians from the what? From the wilderness, which put bracelets upon their hands and beautiful crowns upon their heads." Then we go to Joel 3. We know about this one right here. "And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord hath spoken it." And when we look at the word Sabian, it means drunkard, or he who is coming. The people of the nation of Sheba, a nation in the region of Arabia Felix, rich in frankincense, spices, gold, and gems. Then it says the genealogies in Genesis mention 3 men of this name. A, the grandson of Cush, and son of Rama, a son of Joktan, which accords with the Arabic tradition. We're going to look at that. A grandson of Keturah. And in 2 of the places, A and C, Sheba is coupled with Dedan, his brother. This I would thus account for by supposing that there were 2 Arabian tribes of this name, the one descended from Joktan in southern Arabia, the other dwelling by the northern desert of Arabia, near the Persian Gulf and the mouth of the Euphrates. And this is the root of Sabian, which is Sheba, and it means 7 or an oath. And that's what we just read right there. Son of Joktan and a descendant of Seth. Then you got son of Rama, grandson of Cush and a descendant of Ham, and son of Jokshan, the son of Abraham by Keturah, a nation in southern Arabia. Right here it says the name of 3 early progenitors of tribes and of an Ethiopian district. All right, so we go over here. We're going to listen to this so we can get some more information and bring these pieces together.
The tribes of Arabia, or Arab tribes, denote ethnic Arab tribes originating in the Arabian Peninsula. These tribes trace their ancestry to one of the 2 Arab forefathers, Adnan or Cotton. Adnan is the traditional ancestor of the Adnanite Arabs of northern, western, eastern, and central Arabia, as opposed to the Cottonite Arabs of southern Arabia who descend from Cotton. His ancestry can be traced back to Abraham and from there to Adam and Noah.
All right, you seen the connection? You seen the connection? Said that he can, these are where you get the Arabs from. Said that he can trace his lineage back to who? Back to Abraham.
According to tradition, Adnan is the father of a group of the Ishmaelite Arabs who inhabited west and northern Arabia. He is a descendant of Ishmael, son of Abraham.
And remember, Esau mingled his seed with who? With Ishmael. We saw that in the other sermon when we were talking about Saudi Arabia and proving to you that Saudi Arabia is Mystery Babylon.
Adnan is believed by genealogists to be the father of many Ishmaelite tribes along the western coast of Arabia, northern Arabia, and Iraq. The overwhelming majority of traditions and Muslim scholars state that Adnan is a descendant of Kedar, the son of Ishmael. Except for Ibn Ishaq, who claimed that Adnan was a descendant of Nebaioth, Nabateans.
Now, this person right here, they're saying, nah, he didn't descend from him, he descended from him. It's the same lineage. This right here, this is Kedar. Kedar, remember we saw that it means the black-skinned man. These are Arabs. The black-skinned man. This literally means the black-skinned man, who was what? Son of Ishmael. Kedar, son of Ishmael, the black-skinned man. And you see it right here. Kedar, or also it's spelled with the Q. The Q. Dark, the son of Ishmael, the descendants of Kedar. Black-skinned man. So when they're telling you that these are not black people, they're lying to you. When they're telling you that the Bible does not speak about skin color, they are lying to you. Because this is simple research. This is nothing complicated. If they're not doing simple research, then how can you trust them on the greater things? Somebody tell me what this complicated to find. He said that what? Christ said he's what? He was going to give us the Holy Spirit that was going to guide us and lead us in what? In all truth. All truth.
1 Chronicles 1 verses 28 to 31 KJV. The sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael. These are their generations, the firstborn of Ishmael, Nebaioth, then Kedar, and Adbeel, and Mipsam, Mishma, and Dumma, Massa, Hadad, and Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema.
There you go right there. The sons of Ishmael's firstborn was Nebaioth, which is where we get the Nabateans. We discussed them in the other sermon. If you don't know what we're talking about, go watch it. Then you have what? Then Kedar, the second son was Kedar, the black-skinned. We can conclude that he was probably darker than his brother. But these are the sons of Abraham. So if Ishmael has a son, he names his son the black-skinned man, or translate to the black-skinned man, then it's not hard to conclude what his brother looked like, which would not be hard to conclude what Isaac looked like, which would not be hard to conclude what Abraham looked like. And then we bring in the other scriptures where it speaks about David being ruddy. And we see the guy we were looking at, the people that he showed you, and the guy that I brought up again, he was ruddy. He was ruddy. Because Esau and Jacob are what? Are twins.
Adnan was viewed by pre-Islamic Arabs as an honorable father among the fathers of Arab tribes. and they used this ancestry to boast against other Katani tribes who were a minority among the Adnanites.
Now remember, so I guess it's pronounced Katani. I don't know if that's right or not, but we're going to go with it. Remember I told you, remember that? The Katani tribes? Same family, y'all. Same family.
Layla bint Luqayyas, a pre-Islamic female poet, was captured by a Persian king and forced to marry him, so she composed a poem designated to other Arab tribes, asking for their help and reminding that she and they all belong to Adnan, which makes it a duty for them to rescue her. According to records, she was an Arab Christian.
That's very interesting. Here you have Layla. She's asking for help. She said, hey, I come from this lineage right here. Adnan, which traces back to Ishmael. Ishmael also mingling his seed with Esau. Right? And it's saying that she was an Arab Christian.
The terms Cottonite and Katani refer to Arabs who originate from South Arabia. The term cotton is mentioned in multiple ancient Arabian inscriptions found in Yemen.
I think it would be Catan, but we'll roll with it because, this is still technology. Where they originate from? It's saying they originated from South Arabia. South Arabia.
The terms Arab traditions believe that they are the original Arabs. According to Arab tradition, the Cottonites are from South Arabia, unlike the Adnanites who are from the north of Arabia, descended from Ishmael through Adnan. Arab tradition maintains that a semi-legendary ancestral figure named Cotton and his 24 sons are the progenitors of Yemen who controlled the Arabian Peninsula known as Katani.
Okay, it's saying that they were they established what is known as Yemen. They are the progenitors of Yemen. The progenitors of Yemen. We're going to look at a map, but I want to show you some of the Yemenite people today. I want to show you some of the Yemenite. Now we know there was mixing and there's still mixing going on, but we see who these people originally were and where they were coming from. What happened? Esau and Ishmael, what they do? They mingled their seed. Look how red his beard is. Look how his hair is red. But it's still brown-skinned man, black man, what we call black man. You want to talk about the real Esau? This would be the real Esau. But this would be more so a mixed Esau because, he mingled the seed. Guess what this man is? A Yemenite. A Yemenite. It is starting to make sense to you. But why they don't show you all that? Why they don't tell you all this? I wonder why. Another man from Yemen. The brown skin. You see the ruddy red beard. He got black hair, at least right here. Looks like a modern day what we call Arab. Another Yemen boy. You can see the mixing. He got straight / curly hair. You see the facial features are more Arab, more what we call Middle Eastern. Modern day Middle Eastern. In comparison to our facial features and facial structures over here in America as African Americans. But this is a black boy. He's darker than some of you watching the video right now. Another one in Yemen. Different shades because he's darker. His wife is lighter. See the child. Then we jump over here. We look at ancient Yemen people. Here go one. Black man. Another one. Arab. 2 Arab women. Yemen women. Let's get another one. Yemen woman. Right here, another one. You can tell she's brown skinned. So these guys right here. Come on, man. Especially him. Why do Yemenis tend to have darker skin than other Middle Easterners? Somebody asked that question.
And you click on it, people gonna say because it's a region, it being a area that's hot and stuff, this and that, this and that. That's a part of it. That's not the whole truth. Different shades. See that? Different shades. But he told you that these people don't consider themselves to be white. Okay, she's the lightest one out of there. You think that she would consider herself white? Nope. Another one. Come on, man. Stop playing with us like that. Y'all better stop playing with yourself too. That's why you're deceived. You're not allowing yourself to be led by the Spirit.
The genealogists disagree about the pedigree of cotton. Some trace him back to Ishmael. Other genealogists argue that the name was Cotton B, Abir B, Shalak. Cotton with the Yoktan, biblically known as Joktan, son of Eber, Hud in the Hebrew Bible.
Look at your connection again. This is how the Antichrist is going to be able to say, hey, I am the Messiah. This is the lineage I come from. I come from the lineage of Eber. I am a Hebrew, because we get, most people will agree. It's deeper than that, but it means one beyond the region, which deals with one beyond the river, which deals with one on the other side, which deals with us being from the other side of heaven, from what we were sent by the Father. But most would agree Eber is where we get the modern day name, modern day term, Hebrew. And it's making the connection. You got Qatan and Adnan. We just read that, right? We just read it. What was that? Right here. You got Ishmael, Nebaioth, then Kedar, right? Now let's go back down. It said the Qatan, they trace, it's pretty much the same family, because they end up mixing in either way. But Qatan, he connects with Qatan, biblically is known as Joktan, and he's a son of Eber. So let's read it.
Genesis 10 verses 25 to 26 KJV. And unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. And Joktan begot Almadad, and Shalef, and Hazarmaveth, and Jerah. And Obal, and Abimael, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab, all these were the sons of Joktan. And their dwelling was from Mesha, as thou goest unto Sephar, mount of the east.
Okay, so historically they're telling you, it says other genealogists argue that the name was Hatan B so-and-so, and Hatan with the Qatan, biblically known as Joktan, son of Eber. So you go look it up, you go look up HUD, is going to tell you that's who they call Eber. That's what they call Eber. It says HUD in the Hebrew Bible, but it's Eber. So let me go back down so you can see that. So Eber, he had 2 sons. One was Peleg. His brother's name was Joktan. They're saying that from Joktan came Qatan, which brings up these other Arab tribes. The story goes that I think I got it in my notes, so we're going to keep on going forward, because I don't want to say it and then it's going to read it. But what I do want to do is this. It says, in their dwelling, you got Joktan. You have all these children he has, right? All these were the sons of Joktan. And their dwelling was from Mesha, as thou goest into Sephar, how you pronounce it, a mount of the east. Where do you think this is at? Take a wild guess. Easy guess. Here go right here. Saudi Arabia. He said from Mesha all the way down to Sephar. This is modern day Yemen right here. This is modern day Yemen, which is why you saw the people looking the way that they look. They've been there. They've been there. We click on this map right here, and you see it has some of the places labeled: Haran, Shinar, Ur of Chaldees, right? Mesha, from Mesha to what? Safar, modern day Yemen. Notice something interesting about where this is at? Right there by Jordan, right there by Israel, right there. Who else is here? Watch this. Stay with me, y'all. Uh-oh. Edom. Edomites. They go Basra, they go T-Man, Dedan. All connected, right in that same area. Let's go back. Same area, which is why you see the Bible tell you that Esau mingled his seed with who? With Ishmael. That's exactly what we see. Bible prophecy right in front of you. And some of you remember, what did God say he's going to do? He have a sacrifice in where? In Basra, in the same area. What I believe, this whole area is going to expand. It's already expanded in regards to what God is going to consider, Edomites, because he's going to tear all this up. He tearing all this up. Don't get it twisted. He's going to tear all of it up. And this is another map, a little bit closer in regards to where Israel is. Gaza, the Gaza Strip and everything. This is what Sodom and Gomorrah was. Admah. See the same places right here, right up in here. Right up in here.
Joktan is Strong's H3355, which means smallness, son of Eber and descendant of Shem and patriarch of various Arabian tribes. H3355 comes from H6994, which is the phrase, he will be made little, not worthy. Joktan and his family dwelt in Mesha, as thou goest unto Sephar, mount of the east. Between the 7th and the 14th centuries, the Cottonites became involved in the Arab conquests, migrating to the newly conquered territories and intermingling with the local populations.
Intermingling with the local populations. The Bible also tells you this, right?
In the Umayyad era, a blood feud broke out between Cottonites and the Adnanite tribes of Qays.
Same tribes, same families fighting amongst each other. Same thing happened with us. The northern tribe fighting with the southern tribes.
In the Umayyad era, a blood feud broke out between Cottonites and the Adnanite tribes of Qays, which continued in various forms and degrees till the 19th century in what has become known as the Qays-Yemen rivalry. Historically, Arab tribes have inhabited the Arabian Peninsula. However, with the spread of Islam, they started migrating and settling in various regions, including the Levant, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Sudan, the Maghreb, and Khuzestan. The general consensus among 14th century Arab genealogists is that Arabs are of three kinds. Al-Arab al-Ba'ida, the extinct Arabs, were an ancient group of tribes in pre-Islamic Arabia that included the Ad, the Thamud, the Tazim, the Jadis, Thelek, who included branches of Banu al-Sameda.
This is what I was telling y'all before about these three different groups. The one group, the extinct Arabs coming from these different tribes, and they all connect back to Esau and Jacob, which trace back to who? Abraham, right? Abraham and Isaac. Then it goes on and says the Jadis, and the Tazim are said to have been exterminated by genocide. The Quran says that the disappearance of the Ad and Thamud came about due to their decadence. Recent archaeological excavations have uncovered inscriptions that reference Aram, once a major city of the Ad. Ad was an ancient tribe in pre-Islamic Arabia mentioned frequently in the Quran. The tribe's members, referred to as Adites, formed a prosperous nation until they were destroyed in a violent storm. According to Islamic tradition, the storm came after they had rejected the teachings of a monotheistic prophet named Hud. Hud is the biblical Eber. You see the connection? He went there and preached to them, gave them a chance to repent, told them that they were worshiping false gods and judgment was going to come upon them. And what happened? They were wiped out. God wiped them out, just like He's going to wipe them out again. Most of them, majority of them. There's nothing new under the sun, y'all. People hear about God, hear about the Most High. They listen. Some of them receive Him. Some of them don't. Most of them reject Him. They go about worshiping these false gods and stuff like that. The prophets come. They preach to them. They warn them. Some of them repent. Most of them don't. And then God brings a judgment. It goes on to say, Ad was an ancient tribe in pre-Islamic. Okay, we read that. They forsook the true God and oppressed their people. A 3-year famine visited them, but yet they took no warning. At length, a terrible blast of wind destroyed them and their land, but a remnant known as the second Ad, or the Thamud, were saved. You see that? They go to connection, same people. And afterwards suffered a similar fate for their sins. Same thing happened to them for not repenting. The other tribes claimed to be present at this time in Arabia were the Thamud, Jurham, Tassim, Jadis, Amim, Median, Amalek. Remember we spoke about them in regards to what? The Arabs? Jasim, Qatan, Banu, Yoktan, and others. See, that's why I make it easy when you got the program reading it with these names that be hard to pronounce. Then you have this group, Al-Arab, Al-Ariba, the pure Arabs, and they come from who? They came from the Quatanite Arabs. Then you have this group, which is the Arabized Arabs, also known as the Adonite Arabs, were the progenitor of Ishmael, the firstborn son of the patriarch Abraham. According to Arab tradition, the Adonites are called Arabized because it is believed that Ishmael spoke Aramaic and what? Egyptian, which would make sense because his mother was who? Hagar the Egyptian. Then learned Arabic from a Quatanite Yemenite woman that he married. And we know the connection with them. I think it says, I don't have the scripture, but I think it said that his mother went and got him a Egyptian wife. So you can make an argument about, okay, it says Egyptian, but right here you're saying it says Quatanite Yemenite. Just because it said Quatanite Yemenite doesn't mean that she wasn't from Egypt living there. I don't know. Either way, we still know that this was a black woman that he married. Therefore, the Adonites are descendants of Abraham. Therefore, the Arabs are descendants of Abraham, which is why you see this big old war going on. So when we're telling you that the state of Israel is not supposed to be there, you see why the Palestinians and all these different groups are fighting so much, because they know. They're like, no, we know who the people are. We know who they are because the ones that are in power in the Islamic, in the Arab world, they helped to get us put out of there. They were part of the reason why we was able to get out of there. Remember what he said to Edom? You stood in the way. You should have stayed out of it. They know who we are. They don't want them over there just as much as they don't want us over there. But they rather deal with them than deal with us. They rather deal with them than deal with us, because they deal with them. They're like, okay, we deal with them, and eventually we can get rid of them, and then we can have the land, and we ain't got to worry about the Hebrews and stuff. They can come back and say, hey, yeah, we want y'all to come back over here to live with us. They can really say that, because most black people, they will, because they're not researching. And it's interesting, if you go study, some of you know this, but there's a connection between Black Lives Matter and the Palestinian people. When I mean Black Lives Matter, I'm not talking about necessarily the movement, but just black people in general under the banner of Black Lives Matter. They have teamed together with the Palestinians. You can go, it's so much research out there, you're like, okay, what's really going on? There's a connection, because it's in the DNA. It's in the DNA. And even today, you have so many black people that are standing with Palestine, with the Palestinians. Why do you think that is? Because there's that connection, that physical connection, because that's family. That's family. Then we go over and look at this map one more time. Basra, Teman, Edom, Dedan. You see the area, and you saw where some of the other tribes were, and they were all up and down through here. That's why you got Mecca. Where you got Mecca, right? We know it's going down in Mecca. In regards to the cobblestone and everything. That they say Abraham had it. We know Abraham wasn't worshiping no false gods. Then we go to Malachi chapter 1, and it tells you the burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith the Lord, yeah, I love Jacob. What is he really saying? Wasn't Esau born first? And you came out second, but I loved you more? I could have gave everything to Esau, but I gave it to you. And I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. And I hated Esau. I hated the Edomites because of what they were doing. I hated, he's not only saying he hated the Edomites, he's also saying what? The Ishmaelites for what they did, and all the Arab nations. I hated all the Arab nations. He just ain't talking about the Edomites, because the Edomites mingled themselves with Ishmael. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the what? The desolate places. We're going to build the desolate. We're going to build the desert. It ain't nothing but desert. But they surely building it up. All this is going to be, it's going to be beautiful in the sense of, if you went over there, you'd be like, wow. You got Dubai right up in there. Some of you have been to Dubai, you go over there, you're like, wow. Even if you haven't, you go watch the videos, you're like, wow. They're building up what? The desolate places, the desert places. Ain't no grass out here, but they putting grass. It used to be green and lush. But God made it into a wasteland. Why? Because that's what he's going to do in the future. He's going to make it into a wasteland again. All this is going to be built up and be beautified during the time of Jacob's trouble. And Jacob is going to come back over here. Jacob going to come back over here during the time of Jacob's trouble and be all up in here with the Antichrist, thinking it's the Messiah. But we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build. So they're going to build all this up. This is prophecy. But I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. Why? Because they kept the hatred toward us. They kept the hatred toward us. They know who we are. This is where it's going down at, y'all. Mystery Babylon. Esau, Arabia. This is where it's going down at. Right up in this area. Right up in this area, y'all. Mystery Babylon. And we showing you the connection. You can't tell me they don't know who we are. Y'all know they know who we are. They don't want us to awaken to our identity, but they also don't want the people over there in the land because they know they're not the people. They're occupying it. Stay tuned. We're working on another sermon where we're going to go deeper into World War III, the Temple Mount, which where the Dome of the Rock is, some of you know, but that's not the Temple Mount. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I believe is that when the two witnesses show up during the time of Jacob's trouble, the first 3.5 years, they're going to be at the real Temple Mount, which is not too far from the current so-called Temple Mount. And that's where they're going to do their preaching and most of their ministry. With that being said, God bless each and every one of you in Jesus Christ's name. As always, stay focused for Jesus. And as you know, the truth is not debated, it is declared.
Thanks for waking up with us.